By the end of this, you're going to understand not only how injury happens, but also the things that lead up to it. This will allow for more meaningful conversations between us, the professionals, and you, the person we're here to help, about how we can help you stay far away from the cliff before you ever get the chance to fall off. This dotted line represents your capacity, or what your body can handle. If you were to walk outside and step into the front of a bus and see if your body could handle the impact, the amount of force impacted by that bus would probably exceed your body's capacity to handle it. What we want to make sure of is that we don't exceed our capacity. If we stay below the dotted line, we have no problems, no pain, no injury. If we pass this dotted line, we have a problem, and sometimes that problem will lead to pain and injury. The reason I say sometimes and not always is because if I have 100 pounds of overhead pressing capacity and I load up 100 pounds on the bar, the weight will go up. If I load 105 pounds on the bar, it's not going anywhere. And that's a problem because I want to press 105 pounds and I can't, but it's not necessarily painful or going to injure me. When a tissue has loads placed on it and it exceeds the physical resilience of the tissue, well, now we can start talking about injury and inducing pain. So we know we want to stay below this line as often as possible. Now, we all have a bunch of characteristics that are taking us closer to this line, to this amount of capacity. These boxes represent those things. The first of which is anatomical dysfunctions. These would include congenital anomalies, such as a difference in how one of your hip sockets is built compared to the other, which would affect your ability to perform certain bilateral movements with comfort and symmetry. Things in this box would also include wear and tear and things that have come up over time like disc herniations, meniscus tears, any aspect of your anatomy that isn't serving you the way that you would like. The next box we refer to is your recovery box, often overlooked, and it includes all of the factors that play into the base of the pyramid in our hierarchy of needs. This is your opportunity to come back from all of the things you want to be able to put on your body throughout the week. Remember, we don't get fit from working out. We get fit from recovering from working out. And how we sleep, how we eat and hydrate, and how we manage our stress response determines whether we are in build-up mode or breakdown mode. The last box here is your functional diagnosis. This includes all of the flexibility, mobility, and strength balance metrics we talked about earlier. Now, we all wake up with these boxes every day, and what we need to know is that they are adjustable boxes. Not only are they going to look different from person to person, but they're also going to look different day to day. The 55-year-old dad of 3 who commutes 90 minutes each way to his desk job, living off of coffee, energy drinks, and fast food, is going to have a different set of boxes here than the 26-year-old woman who sleeps 8 hours a night, tracks her hydration and nutrition, has a 20-minute morning meditation practice, and works for herself with the ability to do the job as she wishes along her schedule. Now, let's talk about what happens to the graph throughout the day. We wake up in the morning and we have some things to do around the house. Get to work for the day, where 6 to 10 hours of work is a decent load on the system, regardless of the job. Then we get out of work and we go for a walk, and everything feels great on that walk. So we add in climbing some stairs. We start to feel a little off with our lower back. Nothing to complain or write home about, but not feeling optimal. As you can see, we're bumping right up against our capacity line now. Next, we get home and we get on the floor to play with the dog or kids, and we mix that with getting up and down from the floor, and it takes us way over that line. Now, we bend over to untie our shoes, our back lights up, and we don't want to pick our kid up off the floor or bend down to pick up the dog anymore, let alone untie our shoes. Now, we are uncertain if we're going to be able to sit up tomorrow morning, or if we're going to have to roll out of bed. Too often we think about injury as the last thing, the last rep that we did of something. This is a straw that broke the camel's back situation. And if we only think about the last rep where we felt pain, then we're not going to be able to understand the bigger picture of what too much to recover from is and what isn't. Now, where do we go from here? We have all of these things in our day that we have to do, and all of the things in the day that we want to do. The easy route to take would be to just remove the boxes at the very top of the stack, the ones that might sound like the problem when speaking with a spouse or a doctor or anyone else who isn't trained in exercise science. You've likely encountered this before. You've probably had at least one friend, or maybe even yourself, who have been told to stop doing the things that sent you over the line, like getting on the floor and playing, to take the easy route and to quit doing the things you want to do. Well, that's not what we're here for. That's not the life we're here to live, and that's certainly not the capacity we want to live by either. The other option is to work at shrinking the boxes, at lessening the load on our system through improving its components rather than removing things altogether. Look at what that would look like. Well, The anatomical dysfunctions are a fixed box, so we can transfer those straight across. We're not fixing congenital anomalies or removing screws from someone's ankle that need to be there. However, we can work on the aspects of recovery. With proper tools and education, we can improve sleep habits for the better. We can learn breathing techniques so that you can step into your parasympathetic nervous system and buffer stress more effectively. Your professional can work with you to identify water and protein targets to help make sure you are nourishing yourself from the inside. We can probably shrink this recovery box by 50%. More. That would be a big win for the end goal. We can also get to work on improving your functional diagnosis. We can implement a plan to increase the flexibility and mobility of the ankle joints so that the hips and low back are loaded with compensating stress during something like a squat or standing up from a seated position. We can work on improving the strength balance of the left leg compared to the right leg so that the system is sharing load of squats more equally and comfortably. We can probably shrink this functional diagnosis by 50% or more with the right plan. Now, we have an entirely different person in front of us, and we can see that when we add the house stuff, the 6 to 10 hour workday, and then the walk, the stairs, and getting on the floor after the work to play, well, we have someone who has the capacity to handle all of these things without their back flaring up, and there's still some room to spare. Maybe now, instead of being told to take the elevator or avoid getting down on the floor, this person has gained the capacity to do all of those things. And now they can start working with a professional to reclaim their active life by playing volleyball or going on a hike with their friends, something they haven't been able to do for years because their back would always seize up on them. That's the real life-changing, world-altering stuff we're capable of with the right mindset and the right plan. Now, as great as that feeling we just talked about can be for someone, we can't stop there. We can't stop there because we believe that eventually you're going to have goals and experiences that you haven't had before. Goals to go out and take on challenges you're not sure you can complete, or at least never have completed before. These goals are going to require even more room underneath that capacity line. However, there's only so much we can do to modify these variables, to shrink these boxes, and some of the variables, as we know, they can't be modified. So what are we going to do next to help you be able to tackle that crazy peak you've decided that you want to summit without overloading your back and having to pull out of the challenge? We're going to raise your capacity line. We're going to design a program for you to work on that will lead to increases in your aerobic capacity, your strength, and your endurance, whatever it is that assessment has told us you need. And then there's going to be even more room underneath that capacity line when you wake up in the morning. There is going to be much more room for you to live your life. This is load versus capacity. Decrease the load and then increase capacity so there was more room for more loads you would like down the road. This is how we get you to be able to live the life you want to live.